There are signs of God's creation in every one of the elements which comprise technology. One of these elements is metallurgy, in other words, production and purification of metals. Metallurgy is the starting point for technology. The existence of metals means whereby human beings can melt these metals are therefore essential to it. The first of these means is fire. It is thanks to fire that man is able to melt metals. Metals are the natural conductors of electricity. The electronics industry is thus a result of the existence of fire. As the following this subject. Our ability to handle fire is no trivial ability, because it was only through the use of fire that technological advance was possible. Through fire came metallurgy and metal tools, and eventually chemistry. Fire began of combustion. It is the carbon it contains that causes an object. When carbon and oxygen react, they release large quantities of heat, which we can feel as However, there is an interesting point here. Some 20% of the Earth's atmosphere consists of oxygen. Carbon is found in all living things, including our bodies. In other words, the material exists side by side over the world. So why is it they do not immediately react together? Why do our bodies and all other organisms not suddenly flames? It lies in the astonishing properties of fire. The chemical properties of oxygen and carbon have been so carefully arranged that they only react together and rise to fire. For that reason, a high temperature is essential for fire to appear. Someone by rubbing sticks together is actually raising the temperature by means of friction. In striking a match, you have to heat it in a moment by rubbing the head against a rough surface. A tendency to react together. Animals would suddenly catch fire when the air temperature went up. That is a phenomenon. For example, in the desert could suddenly, like a tinderbox, where temperature reached level of the day. Of course, make it difficult to survive life on at all. If oxygen and carbon required even greater heat to react than they actually do, then people would be unable to make fire at all. Fire would be a mythical form of energy which only emerged when lightning struck a forest. In short, the properties of oxygen have been created in such sensitive that they are a possible form for being used and kept under control. Beings called the discovery of fire is actually fire being placed at the service of mankind by God draws fact in the Quran. reveals that fire has been specially created. He who produces fire for you from green trees so that you use them to light your fires. The earth we live on is a perfect created environment. Technology we then refers to the environmental factors in the use of The use of fire is of course dependent on additional environmental factors, on the availability of wood, and relatively dry conditions. Unless factors were also favorable, despite physical and mental adaptations which makes us human, and despite the fitness of the earth-based life, neither fire, metallurgy, chemistry, nor any scientific progress would have been possible. Indeed, human beings' physical structure, in other words, their hands, ability, and sense of sight, are ideally suited to being able to use fire. God has created the human body with a perfect to meet all needs. He has also given human beings a brain, and thus and skill with which to use fire. For instance, we could have come into a world without arms. In that event, it would be and shape metals, and therefore to develop technology. Or our intelligence level could have been much lower, and we could understand and shape the world around us. We could even have described our technological thoughts, yet God has an intellect with which to think, endless senses with which to see the world, and a body with which to meet our needs in the best possible. It is thanks to these that we are able to take advantage of His blessings, found civilization, develop technology. Of these blessings first. God's blessings you could never. God is ever forgiving. As well as the fact that fire can be made, kept under control and handled, it also possesses another feature which supports metal. All the metals, and especially, melt and become liquid, a temperature which fire is capable of. For instance, a temperature of 1,540 degrees is necessary to melt iron, and that can be achieved with powerful fire. Were even higher temperatures to be needed to melt iron, no fuel in the world for which can be impossible. In that case, of course, there could be no technical progress. Civilizations could be established. After summarizing mankind's scientific, Denton makes the following comment. But although the journey was long, the evidence increased that the end was never in doubt, that we already charted to an end foreseen, and that in the least a matter of contingency, drawn along a path from the discovery to the revelation of our own centrality in the truth expressed by Professor Denton in science terminology is the truth on by believing. Created the world for human life, placed all that exists on earth at the service of mankind, enriched it with a variety of blessings, reveals in the Quran. God is He who created the heavens and sends down water from the sky, and by it brings forth fruits as per has made the ships subservient to run upon the sea by His command, and He has made the rivers subservient to you, and the sun subservient to you, holding steady to their courses. He has made the night subservient. He has given you everything you have asked Him for. Blessings, you could never count them. Man is indeed wrongdoing, ungrateful,